Joining me right now at the Texas Public Policy Foundation, Attorney General Ken Paxton. Welcome to the show.
Thanks. Good to be here in person with you.
Yeah, always glad to have you on. Let's start off with a bill. I believe it's making its way through the Senate right now, and that is about human trafficking. You're wanting your office to have more control over human trafficking cases, correct?
Well, I wouldn't put it exactly that way. There are hundreds of thousands of cases every year. The DAs in this state do a great job. They prosecuted in 2016 about 250 of those cases. There are many cases that go unprosecuted, and all we want to do is do the cases that are unprosecuted, and therefore we would be prosecuting more human traffickers, and therefore we'd hopefully be pushing towards affecting human trafficking in a big way in the state.
So this isn't you trying to take anything
Nothing.
away from the DAs?
I want them to do as many cases as they can, but only in 2016, only 18 counties had human trafficking cases. Now, they'll say some of them were defined differently. Either way, it's fine with me. I want them to do as many as they can. All I'm saying is don't push me out of going after the ones you can't go. There's a lot of multi-jurisdictional cases that we're good at. We have a very specialized group in my office that are really good at prosecuting human trafficking. We went after Backpage.com, the largest online purveyor of human trafficking we believe in the world, and we were able to shut them down and put that guy in prison. So all I'm saying is don't stop me from prosecuting because you want to protect your jurisdictional argument. This is bigger than that.
Yeah, and why can't they do that already? Why can't they, call your office up and say, we're busy. Let's say Lubbock, the Lubbock DA. We're busy right now. We got a lot of cases going on. Can you help us?
Oh, absolutely. They could, but they don't do that. They don't all do that. So there's lots of cases that we could grab that they don't prosecute or that are multi-jurisdictional cases that are very complicated because they run the gamut of jurisdictions that we could just step into rather than hopefully maybe someone will call us. Otherwise, these people are let go. They don't get prosecuted.
Right. So what would this bill, I guess, what would it totally do?
It would basically say if it's in one jurisdiction, if a DA doesn't want to prosecute it within a certain period of time or doesn't have the resources, fine. We'll go prosecute it. We'll go prosecute it. If they want to, it lets them do it. If it's a multi-jurisdictional case, which is what we're better, I think we're equipped to do, we'd have the ability to go prosecute this case. All this means is we're going to have less human trafficking in Texas. If this bill dies and they're successful in killing it, and they protect their jurisdiction, more human traffickers will go free.
Yeah.
Period.
A story that it made some national headlines, and it was out of San Antonio. The San Antonio, I believe, City Council said that Chick-fil-A, you're no longer welcome at the airport. Your office has responded to that. Yeah,
we've asked for document. We're going to be asking for documents to try to understand exactly what's going on there. Obviously, government cannot discriminate against people based on their religious beliefs, and we have some questions here as to whether Chick-fil-A is being discriminated against based on their personal religious views and their support of conservative Christian organizations. And so government can't do that. They claim, now the most recent claim by San Antonio City Council is that it's because Chick-fil-A is closed on Sunday and they could be generating more revenue. But we know that
that's not what some of the quotes were.
No, that wasn't some of the quotes. That's the new supposed reason. But if you look at what Chick-fil-A generates in 6 days versus 7, it's more than McDonald's, Subway, and Starbucks combined.
Yeah. Very interesting. So what's you have a timeline on that?
So we're probably going to be making that request fairly soon. I'm not exactly sure what day, but I would say within the next week or so we'll be making that request. We've also referred it to the Department of Transportation, Elaine Chao, to look into that because obviously that's also a violation of federal law if you're discriminating based on religious views.
Right. Visiting with Attorney General Ken Paxton here on the Chad Hasty Show. A topic that has been popping up in different cities and in different jurisdictions is that of CBD products and hemp. Obviously, this is something that the legislature is taking a look at right now. I don't know how many cities have reached out to your office or how many DAs have reached out to your office about, the clarification of the law around CBD. What is your position right now and your office's position on CBD? Are you waiting for the legislature to get done, or how does this work?
So right now we don't have policy positions. We have legal positions. And so we have been asked recently by one of the legislators to respond to a request related to that issue. So We haven't done the research yet. We just started the process, so we're in the process of trying to figure out what the law is and what can be done.
And is it something that the legislature may decide before y'all get to it?
Possibly. I mean, we're trying to. I mean, typically there's a period of time that's more than what's left in the legislature for us to review opinions, because we get these things. They take research. We want to make sure we get the right answers, because we're not trying to determine some policy here. We're actually trying to determine what would a court say about the law. And so we want to make sure we've done our research. Usually we try to hear from both sides, get as much information as we can. A lot of, we've got other opinions that we're dealing with before that. So who knows? We're going to do our best.
Okay. And any other issues as far as the legislature goes that your office is looking at and looking at different pieces of law?
Yeah. So we're very focused also on voter fraud. When I started, we only had one full-time prosecutor that the legislature had given us money for. We asked Governor Abbott to help us. We got a grant, so we have two now. We're backlogged with many cases that we can't get to on voter fraud because we don't have enough resources. Two prosecutors isn't enough to cover voter fraud in a state of 28 million. So we've asked the legislature, give us a few more resources, and we will keep those people busy. And this idea that there's no voter fraud, that narrative will disappear.
Well, and that's something that you hear a lot. Still to this day, you hear there is no voter fraud. There's not a voter fraud problem in Texas. Yet you do have cases that have been popping up that there is voter fraud. How big of an issue do you think it is?
We don't even know how big it is because we haven't had the resources. These things take time to investigate. I mean, you have to go and foot through and build your case. You can't just charge somebody with voter fraud. And so they take a lot of time. And so, we have two prosecutors. That's not a lot of resources to focus on a state this big. And we get a lot of requests. And frankly, we get requests from Republicans and Democrats who feel like there's voter fraud going on in their areas. A lot of times the Democrats don't speak about it publicly, but they are asking us for help. And we have prosecuted people in Democratic counties for voter fraud.
Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton, always good to have you.
Thanks for having me on.
Appreciate your time, and let's get you back on in the near future.
Sounds good to me.
All right. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Chad Hasty Show. All this week from Austin, we want to thank the folks here at the Texas Public Policy Foundation for inviting us into their building and into the Haley Family Broadcast Studio. Also, a big thanks again to Representative John Frullo, who had us out earlier in the week.